for you servers out there that like to interrupt in meetings, you pull that manager aside after the meeting and you talk to him because we don't want to hear it.
Yes, I want to get out of here.
I got to go.
I wasn't even supposed to be here. This is my day off. Hi, welcome to the Modern Waiter Podcast. I'm Marlon Joseph, the Modern Waiter, where we discuss all things restaurant business. Learn something, laugh at something. On today's episode, we're discussing why staff meetings are a giant waste of time. But first, the intro.
Tired of working deadbeat jobs for lame pay. I'm tired of getting fired and hired the same day. If you know the rules of the game, then you'll stay. And if you don't, then you'll be...
As usual, I'm joined by my good friend, Danny Davila.
What's up, people? The elephant in the room.
Yeah. Listen, of all the staff meetings, of all the restaurant jobs I've been to, there may have been one productive one.
Productive?
One single.
There was one. There was productive?
Yes.
Really?
Maybe. I'm just giving
that you could have not lived without.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far, but
I think I learned more in like the pre-shifts than anything, than just a whole staff meeting.
Pre-shifts are a whole other thing.
Oh, they're a pain in the ass, but
you know what? We might have to do a show on pre-shift. That's another one. I gotta tell you, let's get into the show. Really, you're moving through your week, and you get an announcement. There's a meeting coming up. Right there, right in the stomach. You're like, here we go. Giant waste of time.
Huh.
And I say on a broad scope, it's a giant waste of time because what has ever come out of a meeting
that you didn't already know?
Not only that you didn't already know, that has really changed the scope and direction or moved it forward. That was because of that meeting.
I did have one meeting, like you said, but it might
have been the same meeting.
Okay. Yes.
One where you say, okay,
we needed to do this.
We needed to do this, or whatever the case may be. Other than that, it's somebody has something to get off their chest. You know, staff meeting at 9:30 a.m. Saturday, usually, right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah, that's
am I wrong?
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we open, if you're working, if it's your day off.
Oh, you're pissed.
First of all, you're upset.
I always make sure I am working that shift.
If you get enough time.
Yeah.
Enough if they respect you enough to give you the heads up.
The time up, yeah.
Yeah. But then half the time the schedule's already made and they shoehorn that doggone thing in there. When I worked with you, I usually worked Saturday lunch. And our meetings were usually before that.
Yeah.
So I was golden.
Yeah.
I just had to wake up a little bit earlier and
right
Bob's your uncle. The worst is when the AM meeting and you have to work at night.
Yes.
You have to show up in this dungeon twice. Not fun.
Not fun.
I mean, I don't know how it is in a real job with the staff meetings and things like that.
Well, real job, you can have your staff meeting during normal staff hours.
Excellent point.
You know, you can have
point.
You have it on a Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning because everybody's there at 8:30, 9 o'clock. And they're gone by 4 or 5. True. So it's just business as usual.
True. The thing is, everything that is pertinent in a 40-minute meeting can be distilled down to 10 minutes of information.
No question.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the meeting holder, or let's just call it management, being able to run an effective meeting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't. They're just passionate about something and they're talking and they're bitching or they're whatever.
Yes.
Not effective.
Like our best meetings back at the old place when you were there, well, my place still, was when we would do like a responsible vendors and stuff like that. And if they could get it in that 10 minutes before that person got there and we didn't have to stay after and then talk for another hour, it was perfect. Okay. But that only happened once.
Yeah, but you're talking, that's more like an update.
That's all it should be.
That is all it should be. But the scope of the show, we're talking, they called a meeting
for
this.
specific reasons.
And I get it.
And we all
Everyone needs to
understand
be
why.
on the same page. You know, like that's effective. And then with pre-shift, not everyone is
there.
on the same shift.
Timing or whatever you want to call it.
I get that part. But if you're going to haul us in there, run an effective meeting.
Yes. Make sure our time is worth it.
Yes, please. I mean, there's so many moving parts, right?
We understand the idea of why you have the meeting. Okay, we get that part. Nobody's arguing
100%.
that fact.
However, without the follow-up or the follow-through and consequences, all that was for naught.
Nothing. Yes.
All for naught. Because how many meetings have they said, you guys do this and you guys do that, and we all have to do this?
Or even on top of that, how many times have you been in a meeting, right? And we're all discussing it, and then we come up with a valid point, and it just goes right under what we were talking about. Or it could directly affect what we're talking about, but they decide to be like, oh, well,
That's what you get for talking in a meeting. I'm a big proponent for shut up and let's get it on.
Yes.
Let's get this over with. You know what I mean? Let's just roll over and take it. Because you have to know your audience, and two things. You may have a valid point. I know the meeting is idealistically the right place to voice it, but in my opinion, it is not.
It never plays out the way you want it to be.
It doesn't play out the same way because egos come. I have great managers. I've worked with people that if the idea came from outside their dome, it will not penetrate. Okay? So those kinds of things, you'll have to work on it in a different way, and we could talk about that in another show. However, voicing your brilliant idea in front of everyone, they all recognize it was your idea
and not theirs
to kick it up to yes.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of times an ineffective manager would be like, oh, well, we've blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, they didn't think about it. And it's worth exploring. Not everything that someone says should be like implemented right away or whatever, but you can often take pieces of what they're saying or the sentiment or the direction and come up with something, because management has different considerations than servers or staff or whatever the case may be. But they also don't have the same eye level when it comes to solving issues.
It's my way or the highway or blah, blah, blah.
It could be that, yes, of course. But the eye level, imagine Pastor T.D. Jakes wrote a book. I forgot the name of it. But he described the perspective of a giraffe and a turtle. They may occupy the same space, the same footprint, but they have different perspectives.
Different views, yes, absolutely.
Exactly. So, but both are valid. The giraffe isn't going to see below the bushes or below his kneecaps or whatever the case may be, and the turtle sure as hell is not going to see what's coming along the horizon. And that's the same relationship when it comes to, not the same, but a similar relationship when it comes to servers and management. But you can also come together and say, hey, this is what we're dealing with down here, and you can always say, oh, this is what I'm seeing up here. But in a meeting,
not the time or the place for it, in their mind.
In my mind,
yes.
I don't know what they might even say if there's any questions, and you're like, oh,
yeah, and that's when
here
you're
we
like,
go.
That became the waste of my time right there.
Yes, that becomes a waste of my time.
You pull them, for you servers out there that like to interrupt in meetings, you pull that manager aside after the meeting and you talk to him, because we don't want to hear it.
Yes, I want to get out of here.
I got to go.
I wasn't even supposed to be here. This is my day off. And you come with your rambling BS. It's like, okay. So we'll talk about like my way or the highway type of meetings, or, I already told you guys the reason why that tends to be ineffective is because they often don't get followed up with, it's like a parent that just says something one time. You have to have consequences, and the consequences have to be laid out.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a surprise. You shouldn't fire someone or admonish them just because you felt like it.
Yeah.
During the meeting, you say, these are our policies, or this is what has happened, or whatever the case may be. And you lay out what the expectations are, and you lay out the consequences. And therein, everyone knows, and then you follow up. Yeah. But without the follow up, or the follow through is more accurate. It's waste of time.
Absolutely.
Waste of time. You don't just say something one time and then it goes through.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So let's talk about
even with life. You know, like what do they say? A habit is done in 3 weeks. You do something consistently for 3 weeks, becomes a habit.
I believe so. 21 days,
Yeah.
I think they call it. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the whole thing with a restaurant is so many moving parts. You have the front of the house, the back of the house, you have the wait staff, the bar staff, and stuff like that. So ultimately, when you call a staff meeting, first of all, their back of the house is always...
They're never there.
They're never there. They know they can't talk to them
No.
about shit.
It's always a front of the house meeting.
Always front of the house.
Okay.
You might even scrape up the bartenders,
if you get your bartenders, host, and your servers at the same time, you've already hit gold.
You're not even getting the host.
You normally don't get the host.
Hosts are like dishwashers.
Yeah.
You ain't messing with them. Please don't quit. Please don't quit. Just sit and look pretty. Dishwashers. Yep. Don't get mad when you get your paycheck. Don't get mad,
exactly.
But we ain't paying you no more. But we're not going to ask you to come to no meeting.
No.
Don't jump on the bus just to be here.
Do not do that.
We won't waste your time. That's what they're saying.
Yes.
We're not going to waste your time. We're going to waste these guys' time. So let's talk about how to run an effective meeting.
Yes.
Firstly, it's best to outline what the meeting is going to be about. Mm-hmm. That way there are no surprises. You say, this is what we're going to cover. These are the topics. This is how long it's going to take. And that's the beginning of the meeting. You really want everybody to know what to expect. If they're going to say, and you don't necessarily have to have a time, but how long it's going to take, meaning, we're going to shoot for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or we're going to shoot for 30 minutes or an hour, keep this under an hour. And it prepares people
for what
hopefully
they're in for.
Minimize the yapping on the side. And then for each talking point that you have outlined previously, it's best to have what needs to be improved first.
And what you're doing great at already.
That you want to end with that.
Yes.
Yeah, you always end with the positive. And try to stay away from the admonishment and the bitching and things like that, because then it starts to get tuned out. Mm-hmm. We want effective communication. Here's what we see. Here's where we're at. This is what we're doing. And these are what needs improvement. And this is how we're going to do it. You illustrate all of those things and you set the expectation. Here's what's been happening.
You address the problem.
Yes.
And you give them a solution.
And anything that's negative, you put at the end of that particular talking point.
Yeah.
And then you go on. So you have that rhythm of whether it's positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. You really don't want to end on the negative is my whole general point. And it doesn't even have to be negative. It's just feedback, So, but a lot of times we look at it in a negative light.
Yes.
Where simply it's feedback. So if you really consider that we're all in the same boat and we're rowing together, it's not negative. It's like we're just rowing in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. Here's the cause and effect of what we have been doing. Here's what it means to the guest. Here's what it means to our bottom line and things like that. You have to put the meaning to it instead of like, we can't have that and da 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 da, and then that just gets tuned out right away. Yeah. And outline the expectations and the procedures by which you're going to achieve those things. Now, the consequences. If you don't have consequences, you don't have any policies. Plain and simple. Mm-hmm. Just leaning back and pointing to a cork board, or saying, we covered that in a meeting and this and that, and then getting upset. It's like children. I'm sorry to say, but you have to be that parent. You have to be the one that is directive. Mm-hmm. And how often do you see management that just kind of just lets it go after the meeting?
Almost all of it.
Almost all of it. That's why it's a giant waste of time.
Yes.
At the end of the meeting, it's best to have the recognition and the accomplishments of the entire restaurant, or if there's anything that needs to be highlighted and things like that. That I think is a great positive to end a meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you feel about opening up the floor for questions?
You don't do it.
You don't do it.
Like we just said a minute ago, if I was running the meeting, I would be like, anybody who has any questions beyond this, come see me, or come see your, whether depending on how your establishment is ran, if it's, let's say it's compartmentalized where there's a server manager or this guy, then you go to that head of that department and then you go from there.
Yeah, you run it up the chain.
You run up the chain.
Yeah, we'll see how motivated you are.
Exactly.
But in the meeting,
just let it be what it is.
Just let it be what it is. How many times you wanted to choke the person that's
then starts just talking?
That starts talking. And half the time, the person that starts talking is the problem anyway. So you just want to be like, yo, shut up.
Yeah, we know it's you. Okay, just be quiet. Stop trying to validate your point of what you're not doing.
100%. 100%. And all those things add up to a giant waste of time.
Yes.
So if you can eliminate all of those, the meeting might be effective.
It'd be 100% effective. The meeting you just ran through was beautiful.
Yeah,
it sounded good to me.
Because it's all about business. It's not about feelings.
Yeah.
And so many people, I'm not just calling out managers, but servers as well. They come into their feelings and they want to lay out their bad habits on everybody else. Mm-hmm. No, those are your bad habits, homie.
Yeah.
We just have not been that vocal in telling you that you have crappy habits, but you really, let me raise my hand and tell you another point that is ineffective. When management says you guys, when everybody in the room knows who you guys is, and it's usually only 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
That you can speak to directly and lay out
what your
bullet
expectations,
points, what the expectations and consequences are. If you don't lay out expectations, how you want it to be done, and you just say, hey, you guys are professionals, you should know, then it's on you.
Yeah.
Then it's on you. They may know, but you know what trumps knowing? Just doing what I want to do anyway. Honestly, that's how we do it. But once you walk in the doors of an establishment, you got to do it the way that they want you to do it.
Exactly.
Because I know people know the difference, but they can't help themselves. They just revert back to, and there's no follow-up, there's no consequences. Like, listen, this is how I want this done. This is how we are,
This is how we as establishment do it here.
Yes. This is how the name on the door does it.
And I think that's how we talked about before. And we were talking about training. We were talking when you're training people and them coming in with their old habits or their old this. This is a whole different restaurant. This is how it works here.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what meetings are for, to tell you how things are going to work in this building at this time, so we are all on the same page.
We all got to row the same direction.
That's right.
And that's it. And it doesn't. I've been to meetings where it's not all negative.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing.
It is.
But those oppressive meetings where they're all down on you and things like that. If you tell people they're not worth anything, guess what? They're not going to do anything for you.
Yes.
You don't have to coddle them, but there has to be some kind of respect.
There has to be a balance.
There has to be a balance. And now I believe that since, labor is kind of one of those diamond in the rough things now that people can't seem to find in restaurants, or
can't hold on to good staff, or can't hold on to this, can't hold on to that.
It's gotten a little bit better, a little bit more respect, just a little bit coming your way. But it really has to be, hey, this is what it is. It should be more matter of fact and less feeling.
Yeah.
And less feelings. And let's talk about how the meeting usually goes. Okay? And so you get that 9:30 meeting and it starts 10 minutes late. Mm-hmm. Already wasting your time. Which is no bueno. Then the speaker or manager starts browbeating. Mm-hmm. the beating begins, and they're upset about, and usually the meeting's called because they're
be lucky to
motivated
work
about
here.
something. You should be lucky to work here, and we get this many applications every day. Well, not so much anymore. I'm talking from the past, but this happened the other day, and this is unacceptable. You guys, and then another 15 minutes into it, 2 people come in late.
Yep. This is what we're talking about.
Yes. This is exactly what we're talking about. You're looking at it like, oh, here we go. I get it. Always, and you're like, oh, mother. And everybody never comes on time.
No, yeah.
Somebody's up to an alarm or didn't realize.
The
or you
key,
text your friend.
If you want to have a 9:30 meeting, you just schedule it at 9. If you want to have it, and nobody wants to be there that early, but you know what I mean.
No, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that because there are a good amount of people who
are going to show up on
respect
time. Yes.
And so then you are just you're shifting what is a giant waste of time
into a longer giant waste of time.
Who are upset. I'm sorry.
Who are habitually late.
Yes, for the people who are habitually late, you're then catering to them, and then the people who are responsible ones who manage their time.
I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying if you want
you just said we should do it.
Oh, well, it has to be in your mind that way because the average person is not the average.
Don't try to walk it back because listen, I've done it. I've told people the wrong time. I deal with Spanish people, black people all the time. Okay, you can't give them the same thing.
You can't. Yo,
no, there's 2 different times. For you, it's 45 minutes different, and they still might not show up on time. But it's like, listen, I don't know how to deal with the lateness thing.
You can't. I mean, it's just one of those things. Some people are going to be late.
Some people are going to be late. It really tears you up to be upset about it. You know what? You got to just not hang out with them. There's really, because they don't respect their own time.
Yes.
They're not going to respect your time. I'm sorry. If you screw me on time, never again. I will never trust you. You are dead to me. Honestly, because my time is valuable.
Yes.
And it really, really puts me in a place where I put you in this box and you ain't getting out. You're not getting out. The only way
that hole.
Exactly. The only way you get out is if I have a baseline of you being on time.
Yeah.
And then you're late? No problem.
That's a rarity.
Yes. But if you're late the first time all the time. As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
I don't care. And I will never respect your time.
Fool me once.
Exactly. Yeah, so with the meeting, it's just one of those things, or you have your friend that's not there and you message them or you call them,
what you doing?
We got a meeting.
Yes.
Oh, shit, that's today?
Yeah.
Sign my name. Sign me in. And that's, and so the you guys thing comes down and they don't, pull the people aside. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I noticed this. What's going on? Let them speak. Not in the meeting, obviously, but, in a closed door or open door, whatever, but
in an environment where there's less people around.
Yes, in a safe environment where there's less people around, because you don't want to point people out.
Yes, that's the key.
Yeah. But you also don't want to browbeat the people who've been doing it the way that you wanted to
do it. Yes,
the whole
you don't want
time.
to waste their time or make them feel inferior by any means.
It's surgery with a machete. That's not effective.
Exactly.
Take out the scalpel and do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do.
It's. I find that to be so, and that happens at my current job. I get it all the time. You guys, and I said no. You know exactly who you know. There's no way to hide, because we all know who does what you're talking about. So just address them, and you're not really poking them. You're just saying, hey, this is what I've noticed. What's going on? Let them speak, and then you say, listen, it's really not fair to everybody, because this is what the expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you down?
Are you in the game or you're not?
Are you in the game or not? And if you're not, then you made your choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a manager once says, we never fire anybody. They
fire
fire themselves. And that's the way you got to look at it. But giant waste of time. And unsurprisingly, the person's who the 2 or 3 people are the ones that pipe up, as we mentioned before in the meeting, and that really makes the rest of us fall asleep.
Yeah, because we already know.
Okay, we already know. Yes.
We already know who you are. You know who you are. That's why you're trying to defend what you're talking about. But you're not making any sense.
And it makes the meeting longer.
Yes. That's when I take that nap. Look at him like...
You throw the lean back and you're doodling and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like,
idiot.
Yeah. And then you walk out of there and you go, yet another one.
Exactly.
Yet another one.
It could have been beautiful.
And then there's a disconnect between the management. The management say, yes, I had to talk with them. We had this great meeting. And then everybody else is like, ain't nothing going to change. That ain't nothing but ultra perm.
Yeah. That's
you didn't get paid.
You didn't.
You came into work. And that's the thing. You mentioned regular jobs. Their meetings happen in work hours.
They're getting paid.
And they're getting paid. I wonder how long the meeting would be if
everybody had to clock in?
If everybody had to clock in. It would be that 30 minutes, right?
Yeah. It'd be quick, fast, in a hurry.
It'd be quick, fast, in a hurry. No questions. Put your comments in the suggestion box.
Yeah.
But since we got that free labor, that $2.90 an hour, you're like,
it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. They'll come in. Precisely why you ain't getting cooks in the building without paying them.
Yeah, they're clocking in.
They're clocking in.
Okay.
And their clocking matters.
Yes, they're clocking for sure.
Yeah. They got double digits in the in the per hour.
Yes.
You know?
They're clocking in, they want their money.
Yes. Can we consider doing a Zoom?
I mean, where we're at right now, I think that's the way it should be.
If you out there have had a Zoom meeting for your meeting in the restaurant, please let me know. I'm very curious. Give us a comment in the old YouTubes, or if you're listening on the audio, reach out to me at themodernwaiter@gmail.com, and follow me on Instagram at The Modern Waiter Podcast.
Boom.
Let us know how your staff meetings are, if they're a giant waste of time, or how...
or if they're productive.
Or if they're productive.
And if they're productive, let us know how it kind of flows, and we can,
Kick it up the ranks.
Kick it up a notch, yeah.
Or do another show on it.
Yeah.
I mean, this show is a little bit different, but it's one of those things where you mentioned pre-shift and pre-meal, pre-shift. What do you call it?
Same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it. And it's it's almost a must. And I say almost because sometimes there's not much to say.
There's enough, yes.
Yeah.
And when there is nothing to say, just let it be what it is. Don't say nothing. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
I'd rather just keep
I'd rather keep working.
Yeah. But for continuity's sake, I get it.
Yeah.
To keep the rhythm of doing it daily and things like that. I get it. I don't really so much have a problem.
But it could be
with
short
that.
and sweet.
It could be short and sweet.
If you know there's not much to say, hey, you guys keep doing what you're doing. The
Yes.
specials haven't changed.
Yes.
This, that, and the third. Thank you so much. Now get back to your tables.
Or instead of a meeting, have an outline sheet.
Yeah.
And just hit it up at pre-shift and make sure you touch everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to do it a couple times, and then
which is
when the
fine.
stray employees like me come through and stuff like that.
Like I have a great explanation. I mean, not a example. We're running out a new wine list, okay? But instead of having a big old general meeting, my managers felt like, we go over into pre-shift and we go over different things this way, because my GM goes, you're not going to learn all the wines in one day. I'm not expecting you to learn the wines in one day. I want you to hear it each time, not every wine, but we're gonna talk about one wine each day and then kind of go like that. This way, everybody's learning a wine slowly, and then by the time that thing comes out, it makes second nature for you again.
So you're turning over the whole thing?
Huh? No, I mean it's not the whole thing.
But there's a good amount.
Oh, it's chunky. It's chunky.
That could be something.
Yeah.
That could be something. We've been doing it slowly.
Yeah.
To the point where now it's unrecognizable from what you had before.
Oh no, it's totally different.
I mean, it's tough because especially now.
And wine there's a lot with wine there's a lot of points. Depending on how much you want to learn about it. Wine's one of those never ending.
It's never ending. You could go as deep as you want to go.
Yeah.
You might hit some layers of bullshit, but
yeah, exactly. But you could go as deep as you like. All right, we're going to let you go on that. We do this for you each and every week, and we're grateful. If you enjoy our show, do like, subscribe, and share. Definitely pass it on to somebody. That's the best way. If you say, hey, these guys are cool. They're all right. I want to help them out.
the best way to do is share it to someone who you think might enjoy our content.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Marlon Joseph, the Modern Waiter.
I'm Danny Villain. Subscribe, people.
We'll see you next time.
Later.
Stop, look, listen. Paper thin MCs holding submission. While on my mission in search for vintage spinach. Kicking these God-given scriptures. They